Hi everybody, Tim Hughes here. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. I'm here with John White, and John and I are going to at White are going to talk about personal brand and personal branding, the importance of having a personal brand. While you may not need one today, you might need one tomorrow. And John's going to talk through his experience about that. John, where can people find you on social media?
Sure. Well, thanks for that intro, Tim. And people can find me at Twitter, Juan Blanco 76, and Instagram at Juan Blanco 76. And the story behind that nickname is I was an exchange student in Spain, and John White became Juan Blanco over there, and it's kind of followed me ever since. So
I guess I wasn't sure what the story was, but I knew that there was a joke behind it. Yes.
right, right. So that nickname just kind of stuck with me, and then it became my social handles.
So you've got how many? How many followers have you got on Twitter? 200,000, 250, 240,000?
160,000 or so followers.
260,000 followers on Twitter.
Yeah. Yep. So, it just takes dedication and going all in on a platform to get that kind of an audience. So it didn't.
So tell us your story, John, because we've actually known each other for, I don't know what, maybe 10 years.
Close to it, I think.
And we met in London because you came over to do a presentation. So I actually went to the conference. The whole point of going to the conference was actually to meet you and see your presentation. And you have a great story about the importance of a personal brand. You are the living, breathing realization of someone who woke up one day and went, "Oh my God, I need to do something."
Yeah, it sure is, and it was great meeting you, Tim, at the business show in London a few years ago, and that's what it's all about, right? Taking those online relationships and converting them to real life, and so anytime I can do that, that's awesome. So yeah, my story with personal branding, it starts with you having zero personal brand. So, I look at someone like myself that, when I started on my personal brand, I'd been fired from my job.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if we were allowed to mention that.
That's right.
Which is why I kind of said we could wake up tomorrow and find that we've been fired. I mean, I'm actually in this, I was in a similar situation that I realized that I was at a particular age where if I got fired, I wasn't going to get another job. So I had to create a job for myself and create and create something.
Yeah. Well, that's what I did, and I got escorted out of my job and never fully understood why. It was a market shift. Anyway, they let me go, and there I was, no job, a family, a mortgage. I was in a graduate program, so just money outgoing in a lot of different directions, and then to have your income source cut off is kind of a shock to the system. So I thought about going into the tank, getting depressed, and you could have easily gone that route, but instead something inside of me said, this is the beginning. You didn't like that job anyway, and now's your opportunity to create your own thing. And as I mentioned, I was in an MBA program, and about 6 months left in that program when I got fired. And so I decided to they required me to open a business on paper. That was part of the requirements of the course. And some people just turned it in for a grade and went back to their job, and other people decided to actually open the business. And luckily, I decided to open my business, and realized I didn't have a name for myself at all at this point in time. You could Google John White and probably still be scrolling from 8 years ago on page 1,500,000 of Google and not have found anything about me. And so I started from nothing. I mean, I had no online presence. I had, maybe 15 Twitter followers at that point in time. And I had a LinkedIn account, but I was only connected to people that I had previously worked with. So
Yeah.
it wasn't doing me any good. So during that MBA program, they require you to put out a ton of content every week. You're putting out 2-3 pieces of content. And then you just turn it in. Maybe your professor and one other peer might see it, and that was it. And I said, there's got to be something more for this content. I'm really working hard here, and it just sits on my laptop in like a digital graveyard. Once I'm done with it. So at that time, LinkedIn was they launched their blogging platform, and writing is something that had always been kind of a skill of mine, but I'd never done anything to really utilize it or monetize it. And so luckily I got accepted as a blogger on LinkedIn, because at that time you actually had to apply.
Oh, you had to apply in those days. Okay,
Yeah,
right.
show them proof of your writing. And I was one of the early ones that got accepted, and I started repurposing my content from my MBA program onto my LinkedIn blog. And luckily I started building an audience there, and people liked what I was writing and following along. And that's really where my personal brand began, was on LinkedIn. And that was the kind of the first social platform that I really made any headway on, and got some traction. And people always ask me, well, how do I be on all these platforms? I can't be everywhere all the time. And what I say to people is really pick one and start with that one, and really go all in, and develop your presence on one platform. And then once you get some traction, maybe go to number 2, then maybe number 3. But don't feel like you got to be on 7 different platforms every day, all day.
I agree. Yeah.
Because that's a recipe for disaster. So because you spread yourself too thin. And so decide early on which platform has my audience. What do I want to be known for? And can I create that name for myself on that platform? Do people consume that type of content on the platform that I'm going to be going after? And for me, it was an easy choice, because I was in an MBA program, and the content I was producing was highly relevant to the business world at that time. And so it made a lot of sense for me to go all in on LinkedIn. And when I say go all in, there is a lot of effort that has to be made.
So what do you, when you say go all in on LinkedIn, what do you mean? Because I've had people come to me and say, yeah, I post every 2 weeks, or and then when you actually look at their LinkedIn profile, they've actually only posted 3 times in a year or something like that.
Yeah. So having developed my personal brand and developed it for clients now for quite some time, I get questions about personal branding, and one of the ones that always comes up is, how do I do it? Like, how do I make a name for myself? Do I have to? What does it mean to be on a platform and go all in? And so, for me, it means showing up. You have to show up. And so what I see from people is they get all excited about it. They're like, they see a talk like this, or they see the one I did in London. And they say, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go and develop a personal brand. And they do it for like 2 weeks, and then they don't get 1 million followers, or they don't get that contract they were looking for, or whatever it is their goals aren't met within 2 or 3 weeks, and then they fizzle out. They just kind of they.
I guess it's like going to the gym, isn't it? You say, right, I'm going to go to the gym, and and what happens is after a couple of weeks, something else. I don't have time for this, and then you go, well, I won't go Monday, I'll go Tuesday, and then when it's Tuesday, I'll go on Thursday, and and it just,
and then it stops. Yeah, the effort stops. So the key to personal branding is persistence and follow through. And people, they're always looking for that, one little tip from a podcast like this. Like, what can I do, that's going to be the shortcut to, becoming the top in my industry. And I personally have not found that that silver bullet to be out there. I think it takes consistent effort. It takes showing up. If you don't have a lot of content in the beginning, that's fine. Start by commenting on posts.
Yep.
Find a group of people that you want to have influence that you want to notice you, and that you may want to do business with, or you may want to hire. You may want them to hire you, or you may want them to be an investor in your company, or sign you up for a book deal. Discover those people on social and start engaging with them by commenting on their posts. And so that, you don't have to have a new piece of content out every day to develop a personal brand. And that's a misnomer. A lot of people think, well, I've got to have 10 pieces of great content out every day to get my name out there. And that's simply not true. I would go for quality content over quantity. And if you don't have a lot of content, one of the best plays is, again, going in and commenting on posts, and not just, hey, great article, but, making a meaningful comment that
Yes.
people will see, and they'll realize that you took the time to watch or read their content, and that you're adding value to the conversation. So if you can do that, then you'll start to get on the radar. Your network will start to grow. People will notice you, and you can really start to develop your brand without, having A-list type content.
So what? So in terms of you started creating content, and then obviously you moved to Twitter, and you've done some stuff on Twitter. Was it that you found, because one of the things that people often think is that if you need to have a whole bunch of skills for LinkedIn, you need a different bunch of skills for Twitter, a different bunch of skills for Facebook, but actually a lot of the skills are transferable, aren't they?
They are, and I think there's two main things you have to realize about social media and what people are going there for. Number one, they want to be entertained. So if you can post content that is entertaining and interesting, then you're checking one of those big buckets of why people go to social media. The other reason is they want to learn. They're interested in learning something new, whether they're finding out something about the news, or something that's unique about their industry, something that's going on, something that they can learn, something that's new, that they can learn in a short period of time. There's also people's attention spans. So you want to make that blog post 750 words and not 2,000.
Yeah.
You want to make that video a few minutes rather than an hour long. So you want to have bite-sized, I call it snackable content that people can consume. And you want to have a consistent strategy. Again, going back to what I was saying earlier, people start and stop, start and stop, start and stop. And then they never actually get anywhere, because once they start, they get back to the point where they stopped, and then they have to start all over again, and they get back to that point, and they never move forward with it. They never get to a point where they're actually making gains on social media, because they start and stop.
And I think that it's the consistency that's so important, isn't it?
It is. People ask me, well, how did you get 265,000 followers on Twitter? You're not like an A-list celebrity or anything. You're not strikingly good looking. You're not rich. How did you get that many followers? And it's from showing up every day and being consistent, and going after the onesie twosies, the small gains. But if you have them every single day and you're committed, then those small gains can turn into huge gains over time. And that doesn't happen if you're not showing up every day and putting in time, just like at the gym. So
you were on the MBA program. You decided to go all in on social media. You were putting out content on LinkedIn. Then what happened? I mean, because this is at that point you weren't necessarily going, I want a personal brand. We're kind of going. We're telling people this is how it's done, because it's your life and your example. What is it that suddenly something must have clicked where you went, something's happening here?
Yeah, and I think it's kind of gradual gains. It's you put in the work, and then you start noticing some wins, and then that win fuels you to keep going, and you want another win, and then you want a bigger win. And so I think for me it really was there was about my 7th or 8th article on LinkedIn, I had one go mega viral,
Right.
and got over 1 million views. And at that time, it was one of the most read articles ever on LinkedIn. I was seeing my name up there with people like Bill Gates, and the day it came out, I think I had more views on my blog than Hillary Clinton had. So I thought that was pretty cool at the time. um, but I think it just takes consistent effort and putting out content that resonates with people, that adds value to their day. And then it takes a little bit of luck, I guess, too. But everything, good luck doesn't happen if
Well, who actually said the more I practice, the luckier I get? Some golfer said that, and it's the same as this consistency in showing up. If you practice, I can't remember who it was. Someone was asked recently, some sports person, about whether they were going to go out to the game, were they going to win it? And they said, well, we worked out whether we were going to win it in the gym. We're now this is just how it's going to play out, and we want it in the gym. This is how we're going to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the opportunities, they don't just show up if you're not showing up. And my opportunities came after that blog went mega viral, and I had someone reach out over LinkedIn that was interested in me blogging for them, and they wanted to know what my rate was.
Right.
And at that point in time, I didn't have a rate. So I had to say, you know what, let me get right back to you. And I went and I typed into Google, how much do bloggers make? what should my rate be? And so I quickly got a rate, and then I started getting getting hired to write professionally. And that was something that I never really anticipated happening. But it did, and I'm glad it did, because it's opened new doors and led me down paths that to 8-10 years ago I never could have envisioned.
So fast forward to today, you set up a personal brand. So what's that given you?
Yeah, I think when you have a recognizable brand in your someone that people come to for information in your field, it just gives you a level of authority that you couldn't have otherwise if you were sitting behind the scenes. So it helps you differentiate yourself on your offers. I think you get more credibility with potential clients. You have people offering you jobs. I never had a job offer that wasn't initiated by me. And now I have people coming to me and say, hey, would you consider, applying for this? We'd love to have you as an applicant. So I think the big paradigm switch for me was, I was able to create an inbound, solution for myself. Whereas before it was always outbound. It was always me being the one cold calling, cold emailing, pitching cold, and always it was me initiating the contact. And now I have, opportunities that come to me, and that's a great thing, great feeling to have happen from someone who spent a good portion of their professional life in B2B sales. I've made some cold calls or two. So to have that, the reverse, the inbound, was a huge shift for me in terms of my career and what I've been able to accomplish.
Yeah, I often think that people seem to think that this thing is like witchcraft, because it's like you get people ringing you up. Yes. It's and it's I don't some people I just don't think believe that happens. Maybe it's because they're just so solid on doing outbound all the time that they just don't ever actually believe that the fact that someone can actually say, you look interesting, I think you could help me, I'm going to contact you and see if you can.
Yeah, I think there's a shred of doubt in your mind until you're able to create those types of opportunities for yourself. And people, they spend their time on outbound, and there's nothing wrong with outbound. I still do outbound. I just don't have to do nearly as much of it
Yeah.
as I used to, which is great. I can spend my time, in other areas of the business.
Doing what you want. I think the thing about it is it gives you choices, doesn't it? Because you can, what I find about some of the stuff that comes in is that you can say, well, actually, I don't want to do that.
Absolutely. That's a beautiful thing. Being able to pick and choose who you want to work with. And I didn't have that luxury really in my past careers because I was in the corporate world
Mm.
and I was asked to do as I was told. So I had to deal with clients that maybe didn't, that were verbally abusive or I didn't care to do business with, but I didn't have a choice in the matter at the time. I had to deal with them. And I fired a few clients. I said, I'll never subject myself or my employees to abusive clients. And, I've let a few go. And
I've done it as well.
that was a great feeling too.
It is actually a great feeling that you can actually say, I can smell the toxicity of your organization from here, and I'm not going to step in there.
Right. Don't want any part of it. Right. So,
No.
yeah.
John, this has been brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about personal brand. I mean, you are just the living, the living example of someone who got fired and has been able to create something and turn yourself into a personal brand and is getting business from it. It's just an amazing story. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Tim. It's been a pleasure being on. And, I just, to piggyback on what you just said, if I can build a personal brand from the, where I came from, being on one page 1,500,000 on Google to moving up to page number one for, a common name like mine, really anybody can do it because, people think that, to build a personal brand, you've got to be an Elon Musk or a Mark Cuban or someone who's already famous. And you don't. You can go from starting point zero and build it over time and really have something that can change your life in so many different ways if you stick with it and keep showing up.
So, John, remind people where they can get hold of you because remind them of your Twitter and your.
Yeah, so Twitter and Instagram is Juan Blanco 76, JUANBLANCO 76, and my website is socialmarketingsolutions.com.
Brilliant. John, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. I love it. I've heard it many a time, and I love it every time because it's just a great example of how people can build something from nothing.
Yeah, well, thanks, Tim. It's great to see you.
Yeah.
You got to come over to Colorado.
I will do. I need to get. Yeah, I mean, when this thing blows over a bit, I need to get over to the States. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thanks, John.
Okay, thanks, Tim.